Today, I'm making a feast that is not only worthy of Princess Zelda, but more importantly, my queen at home. Now, my wife and I love the Zelda games, and they're easily in our top 5 of classic games. So I am planning a game night and have about 8 hours to prepare a feast that is as legendary as the game's culinary lore. We're talking multiple courses with dishes that are inspired by over 40 years of gaming. In this video, we're going to be diving deep into Link's adventure and how food played a monumental part. It's a journey from 8-bit gaming all the way up into a culinary masterpiece. So join me on this adventure as we create a perfect celebratory meal for my wife. Our journey begins in 1986 when The Legend of Zelda is first released in Japan. When it was first released, the food in the game didn't really do much for your health because the original purpose was pure utility. Where food in modern games will provide you with hearts or stamina, the food in the original Zelda was explicitly used as bait and even a key item to access different parts of the game. And I want you to think about that for a second. We're talking about a game released before the internet was common. There weren't any YouTube guides or tutorials on how to use these items, so it was pure trial and error that required an immense amount of patience and experimentation. Despite the graphics back when this game came out, the food itself actually looked pretty good. It reminded me of barbecue ribs or even a weird looking chicken wing. This barbecue looking item was a handy tool that you could use to help you on your journey. For instance, you could drop bait to make enemies like hungry Gorias focus on the food, allowing you to sneak along to the next area or even go in for a surprise attack. But more importantly, in certain parts of the game, you were required to interact with a specific Goria, handing over the food item to move on to the next part of the dungeon. And this wasn't just a distraction this time, you were actually bartering the food in order to advance in the game. And acquiring the food might not seem like much by today's standard of games where you can farm different areas to help buy in-game items in seconds. But think about how gaming was back in the day, with two-dimensional 8-bit gameplay. To get the food, you had to collect 60 rupees, killing waves of enemies like Octoroks and Moblins, hoping that they dropped a rupee and collect them before they vanished. Then you had to find a specific cave shop that stocked that item, and back then I could imagine it being a really time-consuming task that could take a new player hours of effort, so we have to drop some F's in the chat for the OG gamers who grind and really put in that time. As the series grew, the goal of food shifted from simple tools to more restorative items. We got introduced to the magic meter, and then after that, the culinary focus broadened and evolved into something totally different. This evolution gave us the staple potions: red for hearts, green for magic, or blue for both. These liquid remedies became absolutely critical for your gameplay. If you were a noob like I was, you probably ran into boss fights without them, just hoping for the best, only to be quickly defeated. And this reliance on potions changed how you needed to manage your resources on your adventures, but the progression of heals wasn't just about potions. In Majora's Mask, for example, you had the Chateau Romani, which was a fancy adult-only milk from Romani Ranch. And I thought this drink was pretty OP, giving you infinite magic for a limited time, though it did come at a steep price of 200 rupees. To me, the idea of an adult beverage granting a temporary godlike power added an extra layer of fun to the game. And this theme of food being tied to personal growth continued. In Skyward Sword, potions could be upgraded with bugs that you collected around the world, and this made the player a temporary entomologist, requiring them to learn about different bugs and their properties to enhance their potions. And I love that the game really made you a well-rounded adventurer, forcing you to deal with swords, puzzles, foods, drinks, and even entomology. One of the most iconic drinks, I think, is Lon Lon milk. Introduced in Ocarina of Time, this creamy beverage is forever tied to the beautiful and quiet setting of Lon Lon Ranch. You earn it after completing the Super Cuckoo. You earn it after completing the Super Cuckoo minigame, and it was pivotal because if you ran out of bottled fairies or expensive potions, you could rely on the Lon Lon milk to help heal some hearts. And one of my favorite Lon Lon milk moments isn't even in Zelda. It's in Super Smash Bros. Melee when young Link taunts by chugging a whole bottle with ease, and the fact that this specific drink is referenced and featured in a taunt in another major Nintendo game just shows how iconic the drink really was. Now, this idea of home-cooked meals having a greater impact really started to take shape in the earlier titles. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link featured what I'd like to believe is one of the earliest instances of a genuinely restorative cooked meal that was better than any store-bought item that you can get in the game. In the village of Saria, Link meets a woman who tells him to come inside, and after you leave, your life is refilled. Now, yes, she could have just given him a potion, but I would like to think that she did so much more for him. She saw an adventurer who was out all day and night fighting enemies and provided him with a fresh home-cooked meal that cured him and provided him with hearts. And this kind gesture is enough to have you power through any obstacles to come. Imagine you're at work all day, coming home to your idea of a home-cooked meal. Pork chops, maybe some corn on the cob with some butter, or even some roasted potatoes to make it just that more filling. It's such a great feeling to know that someone cares enough about you to do such a kind act that just makes everything else in life so much worth it. Now when it comes to Twilight Princess, you can't think about it without thinking of the soup. And if you played it, you'll remember Yeto's soup in Snow Peak Ruins. The goal here was to upgrade the soup in order to upgrade yourself. And the soup was a great part of the game as Yeto made the soup to help you heal. The genius behind this was the progression, because as you traveled deeper into the ice dungeon and retrieved the ingredients, the soup improved and restored more hearts. Starting with just an Ordo and pumpkin and some goat cheese, the soup was thin and simple, just restoring a few hearts. But after tracking down the rare reek fish and finally some hot spring water, the soup became a powerful Yeti dish that fully healed you. And this was one of my favorite food moments because it reminded me of my childhood whenever I'd help out my grandmother in the kitchen, adding ingredients one by one. It made the food more memorable, and not just because it tasted good, but for the time that I spent with my grandmother making these recipes that she learned from her mother who learned them from hers. And I also plan on passing them down to my children as well. Then when Breath of the Wild came out, it changed your entire adventure forever. For the first time, you got to feel what it was like to actually survive in Hyrule. The food became more complex and helpful whenever it came to the different environments that you would journey through. If you were going somewhere hot, you better consume a chili elixir to help cool you down. And Link was actually able to cook complex recipes with ingredients that he foraged, hunted, and collected on his adventure in Hyrule. Each ingredient had unique effects, boosting health or stamina or even some attack power, and this forced you to think like a real adventurer. The complexity in this game was awesome because you were no longer just eating food to restore hearts. You were strategizing, collecting different ingredients to help you with your next battle. And not only was there a vast amount of foods to make, there were also elixirs. Now, elixirs helped you in certain parts of the game since there were different environments that affected Link. Perfecting the system could mean the difference of life or death, especially whenever you're going against a harder enemy like a Lionel. Now, a player who had a well-cooked meal was way more powerful than one who hadn't taken the time to forage and cook. But even when you failed and got dubious food, which was that dark pixelated mess with the censored bar, you still healed a little bit. And it's a funny moment that's kind of like Thanksgiving whenever my aunt would experiment on the mac and cheese. Like, you still get full, but if you do that again, I will ban you from the family. And what's funny about dubious food is it's not just a failed recipe. It's a disgusting item because it often combines incompatible ingredients, like a mushroom with a gem, or just mixing too many effects to cancel each other out. And all of this food became iconic, especially since official Zelda cookbooks have been released allowing fans to truly taste the world of Hyrule. And speaking of cookbooks, I actually made one for you all. In the description below, there's a link to my fourth wall page where you can purchase this cookbook for just $3 to share with your friends and family. Buying this cookbook really helps out with creating videos like this for you guys, so check it out whenever you're done. Zelda truly became a part of our world, moving from the screen to the kitchen. And just like in the real world, food is more than just about how it tastes or how it looks. It allows us to get together and build relationships with each other, creating memories that last a lifetime. And that is my goal tonight with my wife. She works hard and she's my partner in crime, and she deserves the best, so I'm gonna give it to her. All these dishes inspired by things that we both love from a franchise that's been around for decades will be the center of our night full of gaming and bonding with each other. It's my small way of bringing the magic of Hyrule right into our home, celebrating our shared passion and treating my queen to a meal fit for royalty.